I'm working on the Chevy Tahoe, and have you guys ever seen a T-shaped shock? Look at that. I'm just kidding. I'm trying to remove the shock because it's old, worn out, not doing its job, so we have a new one. But of course the nut up there is just rusted in place and the whole shaft spins. I tried holding it with vice grips, doesn't matter, just I can't get a strong enough clamp on it. So I just grabbed the old stabilizer link that I have laying around here and welded it to the shaft. So now I'm gonna go ahead, heat up that nut, and it should allow me to remove that nut up there. Then we can just take the whole thing off, and if I have to, I'll just cut it off with the cutoff wheel to get it out of here. And there we go, got it out, not a big issue. Once I had this piece welded in place to hold the shaft still, just put a little bit of heat on the nut, and it came all the way out without any issues. And that's it. And I'm just gonna go ahead, cut off my stabilizer link and throw it into my pile of links that I have over there, because I like to save them for various jobs just like this. So that made a quick work of a job like this. Thank God for the welder, right? Can you believe this crap? It's March 15th and we are getting snow. Just the other day it was like summer outside. It was like 75, 80 degree outside. It's crazy. It was just like summer and now it's snowing again. Damn you, Chicago. Anyway, you can see I made some good progress here. Got the inner and outer tie rod off. I still have the shock absorber off of it. With the wheel bearing, I think while I have all this open space, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this stabilizer link. Maybe not, because the other side is still loaded. But you can see I got the wheel bearing off and everything is nice and cleaned up. I'm gonna hit it with the CRC and get the new wheel bearing ready to go on. Should be all set. I got the new wheel bearing in place. The brakes are all bolted down. I'm starting to put in the new shock absorber, as you can see. And the old one that came off, I expected it to be really loose, like you try to compress it and it just doesn't rebound. Well, this one's actually the opposite. It doesn't want to compress. The thing is like rock solid. No matter how much force I've tried, it won't go down. Doesn't want to move at all. Talk about being a real damper on your fun, huh? Alright, I'll stop. Anyway, this one's going in pretty smooth, as you can see. And of course, something like this, you know, these things are prone to rotting out and rusting away, making them difficult to remove. So I like to spray like the nuts and bolts once I'm done doing stuff like this. Spray everything with the CRC to protect it. And in the future, when someone else needs to remove it, it comes off pretty easy because it's not going to be rotted away with rust. Now I'm on the front right side of the car. As you can see, I just did the same exact thing. Went ahead and welded a stabilizer link to the shock. And now I just put a little bit of heat into the nut up there, but it allows me to remove that nut without anything spinning. So super easy trick if you have a welder. And that's it. It's a pro tip. Well, it's more like an amateur tip, but still, I'm sure to help someone. So I'm just about done here. You can see we got the new inner and outer tie rods, stabilizer links, front shocks, and I did the same exact thing on the other side, minus a wheel bearing. This is the only side they got a new wheel bearing. Got this Mazda 3 here in the garage. Initial complaint from the owner is there's no heat coming out the dash, and the car started to overheat a little bit. Check the tank, it's completely empty. So what I did is I filled it up with water, and I'm gonna go ahead and pressurize the system, see where this leak is at. That did not take long. Wow, that's a pretty big leak. Alright, so I put a pan underneath the car, and I don't know what's broken just yet. Alright, so I got the piece off of the car. You can see it was sitting down there. And I mean, this is a complete rat's nest of crap. What a freaking nightmare to get this piece out of here. So here it is. This gasket was sitting in here just like that. You can see the gasket is torn. But more importantly, the housing itself is actually broken. You see a big chunk of plastic missing right there. So I think this brittle plastic just kind of snapped off, and then once that broke off, the only thing holding the coolant in at that point was the gasket, and eventually that failed. So that's it. I'm gonna have to take off this temperature sensor and swap it over to a new part. Yeah, unfortunately we can't get any OEM parts, so what's going on here is a dormant part. Yeah, I know, crappy crap, but it's all we got, so it's gonna have to do. Another one to add to the list. I talked to the owner and I showed him what part I need, and he was like, okay, I'll try to get it for you tomorrow. And I'm like, no, like the car's in my garage right now. This thing has to get out of my garage today. Like, I need this part. I told him, I got 2 other cars here. If I pull your car out the garage and bring these other cars in, your car is going to be sitting out there for days. I told him I brought your car in because it's supposed to be the fast one. So I need this part today. He said he was going to bring it. Let's see what happens. I got the new part in, as you can see. And to my surprise, it's a Duralast unit, not a Dorman. I mean, that's kind of better, right? So you can see I already transferred over the temperature sensor. And it looks like it matches up. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop this bad boy on. And hopefully it'll be all set. Alright, so I'm all done. Just finished pressurizing the system. I don't see or hear any leaks, so I think it's all good. Unfortunately, my adapter doesn't really fit that well. Maybe I'm just using the wrong one. It's like I had to hold it in place because it doesn't want to screw in. Because this thing doesn't fit right, it keeps wanting to, you know, pop out. Just caught me off guard, scared the hell out of me. But yeah, this thing does not thread into there. Like I said, maybe I'm using the wrong adapter. But even my no spill funnel, the adapter that normally fits these type of tanks, it doesn't fit here either. So I can't really use this tool to bleed out the system. So that really sucks. I don't know what's going on. So I'm just gonna go ahead, bleed out the system, and this car should be all set. But one other issue I noticed with the car, just from moving it outside into the garage, this brake pedal is like rock hard. It's just like pushing up against a brick wall. I talked to the owner about this, and he said he recently got a transmission put on this car, and ever since he got it back from the shop, the pedal has been like that. He said if you drive it, it'll go back normal, kinda, but initially when you first start up the car, the pedal is always like rock hard like this. I am back with this 2000 Toyota Corolla. It's the one that we just got some work done on it recently. The door handle's broke, so door's unlocked, doesn't work. So the owner has to jump in through the passenger side just to get in and drive. She could get out of it because the inside door handle works, even though that one is also broken. But it still works just enough to open the door. But once she gets out of it, she has to climb back in from the passenger side, so that sucks. So we got some replacement door handles here, one on the inside, one on the outside. Let's tear into this thing and see what's going on with it. Here goes the inside door handle. You can see how it's broken up there. So it still works, it's still connected. Got the door panel taken apart. Here goes the old exterior door handle. You can see where it's broken right there, and that's why it no longer works. Unfortunately for the cheap aftermarket parts, they tend to break when you're putting them on the car, and that's exactly what happened here. So anyway, it's all bolted down. It doesn't fit perfect, but that's just what you get with aftermarket parts. I got it working, all right, but here's what happened. See this arm right here, this gold looking one? See where it attaches into that little yellow piece up there? Well, the original piece that came with the new door handle was this one right here, a little black piece. And just by trying to pop it onto that gold rod, it snapped, it broke. So what I did was, if you look at the one that came off the car, you can see that little piece that's right here. And it was actually still in good usable condition because this one broke from down here, broke in a different location. So I took that piece off of here, which is the yellow one, and I just went ahead and installed it on the new door handle, and you can see I got it to clamp on without any issues. And that's it. You see, let's unlock it. Door now opens. Let's lock it. Doesn't open. Sweet. Well, before I put this back together, I noticed rolling the window up and down, because it is a manual windows, it's pretty like dry. It feels dry and rough to roll the window up and down, so it's a perfect opportunity to grease everything up. So I'm gonna spray like some penetrating fluid in these real tight joints, and then for like the rail right here, put some grease inside of there. And what I like to do for this channel right here is put some clear silicone paste, and that's not going to dry up, it's not going to go anywhere, it'll stay in here and it'll be inside the channel, so you'll never see it on the actual glass, and it should help a lot with this glass going up and down and how it feels. I got the inside door handle in, everything went on without breaking this time, and it looks good, fits good, and it works. So let's go ahead, close the door. Remember, the glass is down, So the door is unlocked right now. It should open from the outside, and it does. It should open from the inside, and it does. Lock the door. Swiper, no swipey. And swiper, no swipey. Alright, this thing is good to go. And yeah, people take for granted door handles. In fact, I have a Nissan Altima that is coming in right now because the exterior door handle has broken, and it's extremely annoying. Alright, so I'm done cleaning up my tools here, doing the door handle job. Now we're going to get started on the rear links, sway bar bushings, and rear struts. You know what's funny is that guy that owns the Mazda 3 that I just had here with the water outlet pipe, he was like, here's X amount of money, let me owe you 10 bucks, I don't got it on me, I'll give it to you tomorrow. And I told him straight up, like right off the bat, as soon as he said that, I was like, I don't let anyone owe me money. I told him, if you don't pay me, look, no offense, and I know you're a good customer and you always come back, and I know you're good for it, so I'm not stressing, especially over a measly 10 bucks. I could not care less. But the thing is, I had to tell him just because I gotta tell anyone who tells me this. Here's the rules. Alright, if you don't pay me, I'm never gonna work for you again. And he got offended. If you owe someone money, are you that shocked to find out that they don't want to work for you again because you still owe them? You know, he got offended. He's like, damn, I didn't know you're gonna be this uptight about it. I'll go get your money right now. And I'm like, I'm not being uptight about it. I'm just letting you know what the rules are. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be anyone else. If you owe me money and you don't pay me, next time don't call me when you need some work done. Simple as that. That's how I deal with these things. When people say, let me owe you money, let me owe you 10 bucks, let me owe you 20. No, I don't play that. You know why? Because whenever you hear that saying, chances are you're never going to get that money. So I let the person know right up front. So I'm getting ready to work on this Corolla, do the things I have to do back here. You could see the rear struts, how they are blown out. You could see how they're all wet and leaking. And it's the same, whatever you see on this side, it's the same exact thing on the other side. So that's why we're replacing both of the rear struts. We got new sway bar bushings and new stabilizer links. Now, since all this stuff is getting replaced, I just came in here and cut them off with the angle grinder. Just real fast. There's no point in fighting with that to get it off because all this is getting replaced. And you know, once we get the bushings off of the car, we could actually drop down the whole sway bar and get a lot better access to the inside nut right there. Even though we have plenty of space right now, it'll just make it easier. Now this is interesting because I recently did the rear drums on this car, and I remember we had a new drum, okay, and when I put it on, I sprayed the face with the CRC, and you could actually see how it started to like sling out from the car driving. But what's interesting is, look at all the center right here where the CRC is. Sure, it looks pretty good, right? It's a little messy, but it looks good. Look at the side that I did not spray with the CRC. So all I did was spray the face right here so that the rim wouldn't get stuck like it was last time. And look how it's held up. That metal underneath there still looks like brand new metal. See that? And I did not spray any of this with CRC. And you can see how fast it's rotting away. Isn't that crazy? I decided to start on the rear right side. One thing that I'm just noticing right now that I think is incredibly stupid on Toyota's part, and I'm ready to start complaining. For some reason, they put the brake hose coming through the strut assembly. Once you take out this little retainer clip right here, it actually goes through it, so there's no slot or anything. In order to change the rear strut, you have to open up the brake lines. What the hell? And now I did break this free with some heat, but initially once you spin this nut right here on top, it was actually rusted onto the brake line, the hard line. So a lot of times what happens is it doesn't want to break its bond, and as you spin that nut, it ends up twisting the hard line and it breaks that. Next thing you know, you're replacing, you know, the nut and the line going all the way to the wheel cylinder down here. All you have to do is put some sort of slot or something right here so you could put the line in from the side and then put the retainer clip in. Sometimes I just wonder, like, these engineers, you know what I mean? Like, who comes up with this shit? Just completely baffles me. Something that should take just a few minutes took me like 20-30 minutes to take out those two bolts that go in right here. The nuts came off pretty easy, but the bolt itself, both of them were completely seized in place. They were rusted in. Not even my big Milwaukee gun would break them. They wouldn't even budge at all. So it took a combination of impact gun, penetrating fluid, the torch, and the air hammer to get them out. And of course, without damaging them, without damaging the threads. But I finally got them out. What a freaking nightmare. You know, all you people who do not live in the Rust Belt, may God bless you with many children. So I'm just going to bring this up because I know someone's going to say something about it. They're going to say, hey, how come the drum on this side doesn't look as clean as the one on the other side? Well, what happened was I did the drums on that side first, right? And we're in winter, so it's cold out here. And like I mentioned in my previous video, the CRC gets real thick when it's cold inside of its bottle. It doesn't like to spray. So when I did that side, I had just taken the bottle out of the house, and I keep it in the house for that reason. So I was able to spray the face of that drum without any issues. But when I came over here, by the time I was ready to spray the drum, the bottle was already cold and it didn't want to spray well. So you could see how it was just like splattering all over the place, but I couldn't get a good consistent spray pattern out of the bottle. And you can see perfect examples of this. Look at that. Look, you cannot recreate this type of pattern. Okay, that's you could tell exactly where the CRC was landing. And I made sure to focus right here on the center when the little bit that I was getting out of the bottle. You can see all the places where the CRC did land. And look how clean the metal is compared to everything else that did not get coated. I had to remove the rear seats to get access to the 3 bolts that hold the strut in place. And then once you get those final bolts out, go ahead and remove the strut assembly. And while I was in here, I took off the bushing and the bracket for the sway bar. This bushing is also getting replaced, and it also helps to drop all this stuff down. And now that the strut is out of here, I'm gonna take this opportunity to go ahead and remove the other end of the stabilizer link since we have a ton of space right now. So I'm just about done on this side. I got the complete strut assembly installed. It's completely torqued down up there. Got these 2 bolts in here and torqued down, and I cleaned them up with the wire wheel and put some anti-seize on the bolts. So hopefully you don't get stuck again in the future if this ever has to come apart again. I got the brake line reconnected. It's tightened down right there. Got the sway bar bushing installed. That's a brand new bushing. And I got the stabilizer link attached right here at the bottom. Now I'm not going to attach this piece just yet because I still have to go do the rear left side, and by leaving it detached like this, it gives me a little bit more flexibility. I could actually move the bar around just like that, and it just helps. So I'm not gonna attach this until the very end, but that's just about it. I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits for tonight because it's almost 10 p.m. This is an example of how tight these bolts. They're not tight, they're just rusted in place. You can see I had to pull out the ball joint press, and right now I have a ton of pressure on this thing and it still doesn't want to budge at all. So I'm gonna keep giving it the beans and see what happens here. But I had to go through the same exact thing on the other side. It's a freaking nightmare. Something that should take just, you know, a minute or two is taking me 30 minutes. The whole point here is to not break any of these bolts. You want to get them out without damaging them. So looks like it finally moved. If we look inside of here, it's hard to tell, but the bolt is no longer pressed up against the strut mount anymore. You can see there's a small gap, so the bolt did move. But this thing had to get triple banged in order to come out. We needed the ball joint press, the torch, and then hit the knuckle in the center when all this pressure was being applied with the air hammer in order to get this thing just to budge just a few millimeters. But once you break that initial bond, now I'm gonna go ahead and spray it with some penetrating fluid and try to work the bolt back and forth. We'll see if we could get it out. I forgot to mention, we're also getting a front right caliper because last time I was in here doing brakes, when I was pushing in the piston, I could see brake fluid coming out past the piston seal. So I got the new caliper on the car. It's just a caliper, not the complete assembly. That's why we still have the old bracket on the car. So here goes the old caliper. It's still connected at the line right there. Now, I went through hell changing these dust covers. There was nothing wrong with them. They were still sealing and everything was properly greased up because I was in here not too long ago doing the front brakes. But the kit came with new dust covers, as you can see, and it came with new slide pins. All right, so I could have gone the lazy route, and I'm sure a lot of people would do this, you know, just pop the new caliper on, leave all the old parts here, and the caliper would take you 2 minutes to go ahead and change it, right? But like I said, I went through hell trying to change these dust covers, and the reason for that is to me, it's just doing the job right. You know, the parts were included in the new kit, so just use them. The customer paid for them. Give the customer what they paid for and put the new parts on their car, even if it takes you an extra 15-20 minutes, okay? Because it's super easy to be like, oh, everything's fine, just slap it on there, and then all the new crap, just kind of chuck it away. You know, why would you do that? So anyway, everything's on, everything's tightened down, everything's greased up. So now I'm just gonna go ahead, disconnect the banjo bolt from the old caliper, and we also have brand new crush washers for this. So I'm gonna get this knocked out, I'll bleed out the brakes, and that's it for this Corolla. I'm completely done with it. I don't want to see this car anytime soon again. Turns on like a champ, even at almost 300,000 miles. Scotty Kilmer would be crying right now, a little teardrop in his eye. Alright, so tomorrow I'll take it out for an actual test drive, but it's like 9 p.m. I'm tired, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna call it a night. This one's all set. Out of this 2000 Accord. So the owner of this car, he's a relatively new driver, young kid, and this past winter he got stuck in a snowbank and he was trying to get out of it, right? First time driving, don't really know much about driving in winter, so what does he do? He decides to rev the shit out of the engine in gear and just keep revving the engine to the red line, trying to get out of the snow. Yeah, I know, crazy. So long story short, by the time he finally got out of the snow, all of a sudden the car is lacking in power and it doesn't want to accelerate off the line. So I don't know, he may have damaged the transmission. So I got in drive. Let's take it out for a test drive. I'll see what I find. All right, so far it seems to be accelerating just fine. Look at that. Okay, it did not shift gears, and when you let off the accelerator pedal, it doesn't feel like it's dropping into a neutral gear. It feels like it's just trying to wind down on that gear, whatever gear it's in. But yeah, you can floor it, and RPM just keep. Okay, that was a hard shift right there. That time it actually shifted. Let's try it again. Oh, and there we go, there goes the problem. Hitting the accelerator pedal and the car doesn't want to move. Moving very slowly. It should kick in. Come on. I pretty much got the pedal floored right now, and you can see the RPMs don't really want to go up. So at first it was working. When I first turned the car on, you saw I accelerated maybe like the first 2 times. It accelerated just fine, but it wouldn't switch out of gear. And now I'm at a stop sign, hit the pedal, and it doesn't want to move. I'm probably doing like 3 miles per hour right now, and that's the pedal all the way to the floor. And you can see, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Okay, so I'm done looking at this car. I'm just gonna park it, tell the owner to come pick it up. He caused some sort of damage to the transmission, and that's it.